Welcome to the Pat White Show. Well, have you been watching all the stuff on the networks about what they're digging up, what happened in 2016 against Donald Trump and, well, America, when you think about it? What, you haven't seen it? Well, that's because the ABC, NBC, CBS, the alphabet networks are not covering this. They don't want to cover it in any way, shape, or form because they were involved. And if it gets covered by them, they're telling on themselves. So let me tell you what's been going on, what we have learned, what Tulsi Gabbard, the head of the DNI, is starting to uncover, especially when they found at the FBI bags of burned documents, classified documents, hidden in a room in the FBI that contain all sorts of salacious details that the people who put those in the burn bags was hoping, well, they'd be burned. Here's the deal. Those burn bags have tags on them. They know exactly where those burn bags came from, whose office, whose floor, whatever. And why those burn bags, the contents weren't burned, that's an interesting story. We don't know yet. But they're learning stuff, and stuff is coming out. And previously classified stuff is coming out. So here's what we're going back to. Let's take us back to 2016. Back in 2016, a big scandal had erupted involving Hillary Clinton, who was running for president against Donald Trump. And she had a big email scandal about having an email server in her house, keeping top secret things on there. It looked pretty bad. That's not a place you put top secret stuff, an email server in your house. Well, that was a scandal. She wanted to go away, and they had to figure out, how do we divert this scandal onto Trump? We got to get him on something. So one of her assistants, I think her name was Julie, they come up with this plan. Hey, let's say that Russians and Trump are in bed together. Yeah, let's come up with something. Well, that was the way to divert attention away from Hillary's problem and put it over onto Donald Trump. Now, so let's go on into back into July of 2016. The NSA, now the NSA listens to stuff. They got listening posts all over the world. They hear stuff. They listen in for everything. They tap every frequency, everything they can tap into because they sneak in learning stuff. That's what the NSA does. Well, what happened was they ended up receiving a document from Norway, of all places. Apparently, Norway was able to tap into the Russians, and they discovered that the Russians had tapped into the DNC server. I know it sounds kind of a roundabout circle. So the Norway taps into Russia. They find out Russia had tapped into the DNC because the DNC admits they were tapped and learned a whole lot of stuff about Hillary. Now, here's the problem. All that information is sitting out there, and that information is at the NSC. It's in the secret squirrel organization, stuff about Hillary. Now, the problem is, well, the folks in the Hillary Party and all those folks in that particular organization trying to get her elected, hey, we got to keep this stuff quiet. We can't say anything, and we need to not talk about anything. So, but the whole plan was to link Trump to the Russians. That was the plan, and they were going to work on that plan. Now, Mr. Brennan, who was John Brennan was the head of the CIA. So remember, those are the secret squirrel people. So he knew what was going on, and he went in to brief Obama, president, about what Russia knew about Hillary. And how do we know that's legit? Because they have the notes that he wrote, his handwritten notes as evidence, and it also matches with Obama's schedule. Everything matches up. They have the evidence. So now, forward intel on Hillary, the Russians have, gets really interesting. Now, Mr. Brennan was questioned in Congress about that in a hearing in front of Congress, in front of Matt Gaetz in 2023, and he remembers nothing. Has a strange lapse of memory, doesn't under anything, but he was ultimately interviewed by the John Brennan for his investigation. Remember, special counsel, 8-hour interview. That was secret. Looks like that's going to be released. You're going to find out what's going on. So here's what happens. Now, an Australian diplomat by the name of Alexander Donner who's very close with the Clintons, contacts the FBI and he says, hey, he knows that Trump is working with Russia. Really? Guy from Australia tells the FBI. And that results in Mr. Comey, head of the FBI, opening up the investigation, Crossfire Hurricane. Crossfire Hurricane, they start that investigation based upon, well, virtually nothing. But remember, there's a dossier coming in here. That's where it gets really interesting. So all this stuff happens. People are starting to get briefed on things going on. And right after the Obama gets notified about a bunch of stuff, well, suddenly he wants to call a meeting. He wants to call a meeting of the National Security Council. Let's all get together, folks. And the top people attended this meeting. They attended as the Brennan, Clapper, Comey, and a whole bunch of other folks to investigate. Here's the thing. Investigate Trump and the Russians. That meeting was called back in July. This is where we're going. This is where we're learning stuff, things we didn't know. So what happens is here we have that the dossier that shows up. Remember that one from Hillary's campaign? Shows up into the FBI from Perkins Coie, the law firm. Well, that ends up being put into a FISA report. They go to a judge with a fake report they knew was fake, and they put it in, say to the judge, hey, we need to get this wiretap on Carter Page, which they did, knowing it was false. Now, all of this stuff is going on before the election, right? Well, finally the election comes along, but everybody thinks that Hillary's going to win this thing in a walk. She's going to win, no problem. She's going to win. Problem is, she didn't. That's right. Trump won. Well, so here's the problem. You got Trump winning. You had the email scandals with Hillary. They had all the things and saying Trump is still guilty. Trump is still guilty. The dossier, all the stuff, none of it worked. America elected Trump. But what we know is the Russians had dirt on Hillary. And why did they pull their entire program that they were working on? Because they do it to every election. We do the same thing. They do the same thing. You mess with people's elections. But they pulled out just before the election. Why did they pull out? Because apparently Putin had that dirt on Hillary that he knew things about her buying the problems of the power and the medications and the diabetes and all the stuff that was going on with her. They said, hey, she gets elected, we got something to use on her. Because they figured she was going to win too. That's the problem. They thought she was going to win. Well, she didn't. So here's what happens. Now it comes around December. And there the problem is Obama says, hey, we got to have a meeting. We got to have a meeting here and get stuff going on. Well, the folks over at all the intelligence agencies, there's 17 of them, they prepared a dossier information for the president called the PDF, Presidential Daily Brief. And they were going to say Russians and Clinton were not involved. Clinton and the Russians and Trump, not in pair. They ain't doing anything. There's nothing going on between the two of them. They're not involved. This was the intelligence agencies all saying this. Well, they have the meeting. And in the meeting, Clapper's there and the other folks are there. And they decided to hold off on that presidential brief because Donald Trump was now getting the same one because he has been elected president. He gets the same briefing. Let's not send it to him. So they get together at this meeting, and later, Brennan walks out and says, CIA, hey, we need to redo the brief. We need to find out Trump's involved with something. His people and all that. No, he's not. He's not. He shunned them all. Said, sorry, we're going to talk to somebody else. And they said finally, hey, Trump was involved with Russia. That's what they went on. That's where everything went south, folks. That's where everything's happened. And now all of that is being dug up. Now all of that is coming out. John, remember he was the special prosecutor? Spent $40 million, 3 years? Didn't find anything. Turns out he had a very classified footnotes, if you will. And those footnotes are being released because now you're going to learn some more stuff. Now, will anybody be charged? That's a very interesting question. You say, well, statute of limitations is 10 years, or 5 years rather, statute of federal crimes. But conspiracy, that lasts a long time. And is conspiracy still going on to keep things covered, keep things hidden? Some would say yes. Will anybody be charged in Washington, D.C.? Will anybody be indicted? Will evidence be given to grand juries? And will a grand jury in Washington indict anyone? That's a very good question. Nobody knows yet. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Pam Bondi wants to get this stuff out there. And Grassley, Senator Grassley of Iowa, is releasing information involving that classified stuff from the Brennan book. It's all coming out, but will the TV networks, will the alphabet networks ever cover this? Not sure. I can tell you right now, more dirt is coming. They may say, oh, that's old news, but things are being dug up that were hidden intentionally. And it all started with burn bags in a hidden room at the FBI that somebody didn't burn. But now, the information in those burn bags is becoming public. Will a conspiracy happen? Will people be charged? Folks, that's another day, another time. But maybe, just maybe, it may not happen at all. It's Washington, folks, where everybody gets away with everything. Recently, I received a contact from a gentleman asking me about a young lady by the name of Aishah Hasnie. He said, I thought she started her broadcasting career at Wayne TV in Fort Wayne, to which I said, no, not exactly correct. So, to fill you in, yes, Aishah Hasnie is somebody that I know. I met her a number of years ago when she graduated from Indiana University. Let me give you the background. Aishah was born in Lahore, Pakistan, back in 1984, October the 4th to be exact. My eldest daughter was born October the 6th, so they kind of knew each other because they both went to Indiana University. Now, Aishah and his family was brought to the United States by her uncle, who was a lieutenant commander in the Navy, sponsored the family, and they settled in Bedford, Indiana, where her father became a engineer ultimately for a major auto company. Now, she graduated from Bedford North Lawrence High School, and she went to Indiana University. Now, keep something in mind. Her parents wanted her to become a doctor, and her brother and sister are already medical professionals. Aishah, no, she took a totally different course. She ended up going out with a cousin, I believe it was, who worked at a TV station in Illinois. Aishah went over there to see her, whatever, an internship sort of thing, and got hooked on broadcasting. She ended up majoring in journalism at Indiana University, won some very nice awards, by the way. Well, when she graduated in 2006, she was looking for a job. And it turns out she was accepted at WOWO Radio, 1190, 50,000-watt broadcasting behemoth in Fort Wayne, Indiana. WOWO was known nationwide, being a big powerhouse radio station, and she was brought in to be a newswoman. As it turns out, she was my newswoman. I was doing 3 to 6 p.m. radio talk show host on WOWO following Rush Limbaugh back in those days, and Aishah was my newswoman. Now, she was young, naive, just getting started in the business, and one day there was a Talk Like a Pirate Day, one of those national days. So I was talking like a pirate to Aishah. She didn't understand a heck of anything I was saying, but the other newsmen standing behind her, one was Lee Burdorf, and the other was Kurt Deffenbaugh. Now, Kurt has become a major big-time producer at WTVG in Toledo, Ohio, highly respected, well-known, but they were all standing behind her watching Aishah respond to my Talk Like a Pirate Day. And, but she didn't understand, but eventually she kind of figured out what I was doing. I was pranking her, having fun. Well, Aishah stayed with us at WOWO for a couple of years. And then one day I was in the studio and she came in. She said, hey, can we talk? I said, sure. She said, hey, I have been given a job offer by WANE TV, Channel 15, CBS affiliate. She said, you think I should take it? And I looked her square in the eye and I said, Aishah, are you kidding? Take it. You're natural. Well, as it turns out, she accepted their offer. And that's how she got started at News Channel 15. Now, she started there back in 2008, and she started out being a reporter on the street and eventually worked up to being anchoring situations. And she was young. She was getting started. She was doing okay. Well, back in 2010, when I got fired by WoWo, because in broadcasting, if you ain't been fired, you'll be fired. Trust me. Well, everybody in town wanted to interview me because I'd been on WoWo for so many years. And the only person I allowed to interview me was Aishah, because I knew her, I trusted her, and I knew she was going to be fair and honest, and she was. And the program ran, the story ran. Matter of fact, I think it was her lead story. And so she stayed at WoWo or at Wayne TV for a few years. Ultimately was contacted by Channel 59, Fox affiliate down in Indianapolis, and she went to Indy working for Fox. She started a tour down there, had programs down there, became very well known and liked in Indy. Well, then back in 2018, I believe it was, 2019, there you go, 2019, she went to Fox National, Fox News in New York, New York. She started as an overnight reporter, worked her way up, and eventually, well, she was on Washington, D.C. as a Capitol reporter. Well, now she's moved up even higher. She's becoming an anchor, and a big-time anchor. And Aishah has finally become into her own. She is becoming a star. And you know what? She deserves it. One of the hardest working people I've seen. Aishah is a class lady. Her parents, good family people down there in Bedford. And by the way, Aishah loves to shoot shotgun. You want to go out and shoot trap and skeet? Trust me, she can hold her own. Aishah's a class act. I don't think she's married. I don't think she's I don't know what her status is. All I can tell you is she and I remain friends. She's a good lady. She's smart. And now she's moving up the ladder to stardom. And I can't think of anybody who's more deserving than she is, because Fox News found a star, and it's definitely Aishah Hasnie. One of the more popular things that folks here in Northeast Indiana, they like to do is to go to Las Vegas. You can ask some folks over at Allegiant Airlines, and because their airlines, they're flying to Vegas, are usually full of people. Want to go out to Sin City, enjoy themselves. Well, the problem is, Sin City is having some really big problems, folks. As it turns out, their occupancy of their hotels, now that tells you how many people are going out there. The occupancy of their hotels is now down nearly 15%. Now, that's big time in Las Vegas when they got a whole lot of hotel rooms they want filled, down 15% in the month of June alone. And it's been going that way for the last few months. It's not a one-month thing, but going on for the last few months. International travelers to Las Vegas, they ain't showing up like they used to. They used to be coming in from Japan and Philippines or wherever to go to Las Vegas, and not so much anymore. Not happening. That travel for international travelers is down 13%. So, what's Las Vegas doing to get you to come to visit them? Well, it turns out it may be the price of what you're paying to reside or stay in Las Vegas, your hotel room. See, normally when you go to Las Vegas, they advertise a hotel room of, the hotel room is X dollars, $50, $100, $150, whatever it is. But when you get the bill, you go, wait a minute. You $150 a night, but my bill is $700, and you were there for like 3 nights or whatever it is. You're finding out all the fees they put on. They've got every single fee that you could think of, and I mean many fees. One of the latest ones is called the resort fee. Now, I'm not sure what that goes to or who gets the money from that. That's another fee. Well, certain hotels are literally taking that fee off. They're cutting all those extra tax fees and saying, hey, we ain't in charge of these. And some hotels are even saying, hey, we'll give you open bar. We'll give you a little wristband or whatever. You get your drinks for free. Come and stay with us. That, by the way, happens to be in downtown Las Vegas. So, what are they doing to attract people? Anything possible. Because right now in Vegas, they're starting to lay off people. Because, well, folks aren't going to the Sin City anymore. They're finding other places to go to. And the reason is Local cities, local towns, local communities are putting in their own casinos, saying, why should we let the money go to Vegas? Let's keep it right here. One city, maybe, is Indianapolis, Indiana. Now you're going, what? Indy doesn't have a casino. Not yet. Remember when the casino down south part of Indiana was going to relocate to New Haven, Indiana, and was going to spend $500 million, $500 million, put in a really fancy casino on the east side of New Haven. City wanted to have it. So it was great amount of money that was going to pour into the city, amount of money that was going to get for the state. They were going to get their cut, of course. But New Haven was going to get a whole lot of money. Everybody was going to have their hand out, getting plenty of money from this deal. But for whatever reason, supposedly no politician wanted to support having a casino in New Haven. So you figured the deal was dead, right? The casino down in southern Indiana was just going to have to stay down there, languish, and be killed by the casino in Cincinnati, right? Didn't happen. See, a new committee's been formed. And that committee's job is to find a place for that new casino, to relocate that would be effective to help a certain community. Now I'm saying, well, which community is it going to help? Well, it turns out that Marion County, Indiana, is in a financial bind, a big one. They are hurting for money, and the people who live outside of Marion County, people in Noblesville, Fishers, all those other areas, the counties outside are going, hey, we want nothing to do with Marion County. You guys got your own problems. They're living large in Fisher, Noblesville, and all those other surrounding bedroom communities to Indianapolis. So what's Indy going to do? Well, downtown Indy, they got a place called Circle Center Mall. And it's started out, it was a pretty good idea. It didn't work. Young kids came into it and sort of made the place kind of bad. Nobody wanted to go there. Well, essentially, it's closed. But now, well, they're trying to revitalize it. And they want to revitalize it big time. And they say, we're going to spend $600 million. Boy, that's pretty much close to exactly what that casino down in southern Indiana was going to spend to build a new casino in New Haven. Really? So is it possible that downtown Indianapolis could see a casino? It could be right downtown. People go to the ball game. People go to the Gainbridge Fieldhouse. People go see the Pacers, go see the Colts. And while they're at it, they can walk to a casino in downtown Indianapolis and spend some more money there, thus getting Marion County out of its legal problems, its financial problems, which they're having, and be an attraction for more people to come to, well, Indianapolis. Would Indy like to see another Super Bowl? You bet you they would. They put on a good one when they did it first time. But now bring more stuff in, attract more people. Hey, come to Indianapolis. We've got sports. We've got gambling. We got everything. And think about it this way. Why do you think Las Vegas is putting in sports facilities or building a multi-billion-dollar stadium for the Oakland team to locate? That's right. Oakland is going to move their baseball team to Las Vegas. Sort of like everything else that came out of Oakland has moved to Las Vegas. So now the cities are going, well, we got sports franchises, let's put in a casino. Las Vegas is saying, well, we've got casino, let's put in sports franchises. It goes both ways, and that's exactly what's going on. Now you know. Keep your eyes out, folks, and see what's going on in Indy. Could they get a casino? Because, well, apparently people don't want to go to Vegas anymore. They want to stay close to home. And wouldn't a casino in Indianapolis for the state of Indiana be close to home? You bet your bottom dollar. Well, in case you haven't heard enough about the Jeffrey Epstein and his squeeze, Ghislaine Maxwell, well, let me give you the latest goings-on so you know exactly what's happening, who's doing what to whom, and where things could possibly be going. Now, the latest thing everybody heard was, hey, she wants to appear. She wants to come and tell the full story. Well, Ms. Maxwell has, in fact, been interviewed by members of the Justice Department. Happened in Tallahassee, Florida, at the federal courthouse where Ms. Maxwell is being held in the federal prison in Tallahassee. All right. She was interviewed, apparently asked 100 questions, and according to her attorney, whose name is, let's see, I got his name, David Oscar Marcus. According to her attorney, she answered all the questions. Said she is happy to talk to Congress, but there's quid pro quo here. Now, what's that mean? You got to get something to give something. You got to give something to get something. And that's where the interesting part's about to occur. Because here's what else has happened. What they have also done is they're reviewing all the affidavits that a number of people signed and said, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I saw Jeffrey Epstein and XYZ persons doing whatever it is with the young girls. All right? Those are affidavits. Those were used in the grand jury that put the indictment against Epstein. Well, those are the things that are secret. The two judges involved, one by the name of Paul Engelmeyer and the other one is Richard Berman, have said, hey, government, you got to show us a good reason why we should open these things up and give them to you. So they've got to provide more evidence to say, here's why you got to release them. Public needs to see them. Well, but the judges did something else kind of interesting. They are contacting the people who signed the affidavits, the victims, saying, hey, you mind if these get released with your name on them? Because the moment those are released, those people who made the accusations are going to be attacked. I can almost guarantee it. Whether it's a good attack or a bad attack, they are going to be taken on. And they are going to be questioned. And their validity is going to be questioned. And frankly, their reality is going to be questioned. And if this gets too bad, they can bring a lawsuit. Say, hey, you can't release that. You're besmirching my name. And they would probably win. So the victims are going to be asked, do you want these released? The government says we got to release them. Donald Trump says, hey, we need to release all credible evidence. Well, credible is an interesting term. What's credible? But here's the rub. Here's what's going on. The quid pro quo is this. If she testifies in front of Congress, maybe prime time, who knows, testifies and says, here's the names of people, here's who did what to whom. Well, one, will it be in prime time? Two, what's she going to get for it? The president can, in fact, commute her sentence or pardon her if he chooses. He has the right to do that. After all, Joe Biden did it for a whole lot of people. So, should she be let out of prison after serving 5 years with a 20-year sentence? If that's the trade-off that she wants, will she get it? That's a possibility. But the bigger question here is, those victims, are they going to say to the judge, I don't want that released because I'm going to be besmirched, I'm going to be preyed upon? And frankly, they will be. So there's the conundrum, folks. There's where things have gotten really weird, because now the judges say, hey, if the victims don't want these things released, maybe they won't release them. And America could still go, oh, there's a conspiracy going on. Well, understand what's going on. A lot of folks have to agree to have those released, and that includes the victims. And do they want it? Maybe yes, maybe no. But right now, we're just waiting to see what the judges decide to do. And is Maxwell going to get a commutation or a pardon? Time will tell. And now we're going to see exactly what's going to happen as we proceed down the road. You know, talking about things that you see on TV sometimes can be a bit boring until you see something that you go, you got to be kidding me. Well, that just happened again. Happened to watch a TV commercial with this young lady by the name of Sidney Sweeny. Blue-eyed, blonde, built like a 3-story brick pagoda. And she's advertising for these jeans from a company called American Eagle. And American Eagle jeans, and these are great jeans, whatever. But then, and here's the weird part, Then some folks out there in TV land who have nothing more to do than to live in their parents' basement or look like something out of the creature from the Blue Lagoon start complaining and saying, how dare she do that? This is Nazi. This is genetics, because she said genes, as in genes of, how you're created, your particular genetics, if you will. Well, here's something to think about. Back in 1980, as my memory recalls, I'm really that old if you think about it, there was a TV commercial from a young lady by the name of, Brooke Shields. Remember Brooke Shields? She was in that movie where the boy and the girl were on the island together and all the stuff that happened. Yeah, that girl, right? Brooke Shields. I think she does a TV show now, or not reality, but one of them daily TV shows. Heaven knows what it is. But anyway, Brooke Shields. She was doing a commercial for Calvin Klein jeans. And I believe she said something to the effect, nothing comes between me and my Calvins. As in, she ain't wearing no skivvies. Well, nobody threw a hissy fit then, but they are now. So for you people out there complaining this thing has nothing to do with genetic whiteness or whatever, it's a commercial for jeans. You wear them. And I'm guessing the people who are complaining the most about them probably couldn't fit into them if you wanted to. And if they were, the jeans had to be the size of the Mississippi River. Just my particular opinion. But I've seen the commercial. All right, fine. She looks okay. She's got no clothes on. Whoopee. Big deal. I've seen more in magazines. So the point here is this. It's a TV commercial about jeans. Sidney Sweeny, she's out there selling jeans. You have blue hair and a ring through your nose. And by the way, I grew up on a ranch. We put rings with bulls' noses. Just saying, that's my impression. Just so you know how I think. But anyway, the folks on TikTok and all those other places, Nazi propaganda, fascism, weird. Like I said, it's probably ugly people who live in their parents' basement and have nothing to do and nothing to show for it. My opinion, but like I said, I remember Brooke Shields back in 1980 with her Calvin Kleins, nothing between her and the Kleins. I thought it was pretty cool back then. So I'm not bothered by Sidney Sweeny now. And I'm so old, I'm older than dirt, okay? Doesn't bother me, and it shouldn't be bothering you. Get over it. Got it? Good.